Well, hello, everyone. This is Wilson Cole, president of Adams, Evans, and Ross, and I am joined by our general counsel, staff attorney, and my lovely daughter, Samantha. Samantha, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. I think the rain finally moved out, so I'm happy.
Yeah, some wild weather. We, of course, live in the southeast. So during the spring, at the time of this particular recording, when the storms roll through, it's not quite like tornadoes in the Texas plain, but it's pretty doggone close. And years ago, Samantha was in Tuscaloosa when that going to school when that horrible tornado hit. And I was, and I have to say this, it's like I did something, and I was on the phone with her as it hit about a block away. So anyway, glad to see that she was okay, and I almost feel like I kind of kept you from harm. But anyway, I'll take credit for it. Today we're going to talk about kind of an extension of what we've kind of beaten everybody over the head on, and that's to get a signed contract. Whether you're doing staffing, whether you're doing direct hire, and things along those lines. And we've had a couple of cases that have now adjudicated through the court system. And there's some argument there on and I don't want to sound old, it's kind of like I'm the guy that's holding out not using the fax machine because it's just a fad. But we had some stuff happen with digital signatures, and this one is one that Samantha worked hand in hand with our local attorney in that particular area. And she says, you know what, I kind of want to go through and give everybody a little bit more of an overview of why that's important and how easy it is to get done. So Samantha, we're going to take this one. I'm going to kind of relinquish my time to you. This is on signed contracts, but digital signatures and signed contracts. Take it away.
When we're running into issues of everything comes over and the account looks amazingly collectible, and then there's not a signed contract. And usually, we call the client and ask, hey, is there another copy? Do you have, the executed agreement, things like that? And they're like, no, they kept telling me that every time I called them, they told me they were going to sign it and never did. And the thing that I always want to say is they probably were never planning on signing it to begin with, because they were probably wanting to get out of it. And, but they're busy and all of that. The thing that I have started seeing, and I just want to start letting people know, because I think there is a gap of it's not as well known, especially if you've been in the business world a while, or you aren't actively trying to buy a house or something along those lines where it's become much more common. Digital signatures can change that. There are a couple of companies, one's DocuSign, one's PandaDoc, and it's like $40 a month, and you can take any contract or anything you need signed by a client, you upload it into their system, you drag and drop a signature box or an initial box or whatever you need, the date, anything and everything, and it will automatically email it to the person that you're needing to sign it. It will let you know as soon as they've opened the document. It will let you know when they signed it, because it's also great of when they open the document, you can have a response of, to follow up in an hour and see if they have any questions if you haven't gotten it back. And kind of you can stay on it, but they have no excuse of, my printer's down, or, you get all of the excuse wheels, or we don't have a scanner in our office, which my answer to that is there are some great scanner apps on your phone if you're not using those. I can pretty much run my entire office off of my phone if I needed to. I don't like to, but I could. But with DocuSign, you can literally open it up in just a couple of taps. You don't even have to sign anything. They have adopted signatures where you can click a button and say, use this version of, do you like a curly Q signature, or do you like it to, be just first initial and last name? It gives you options. So they can just click it and be done. And now you have not only a signed contract, which will stand up significantly more in court, but you also, if they want to argue that's not my signature, they didn't have authorization, you now also have the IP address of the computer that signed it.
Which is big, because I can't tell you how many times, even with a signed contract in the past, where the defense becomes, I never signed that. And so then it becomes, okay, you go hire an expert signature person to say, yeah, it kind of looks like it. They go and find an expert signature, says, no, it really doesn't. This kind of eliminates that.
Now, yeah, you've got to go, okay, well, who else was in your office at home at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night signing contracts?
That's an interesting point.
And you can, well, email, okay, well, I wasn't the one. Okay, well, then you were negligent in leaving your email open in your home and having people that would sign contracts on your behalf.
And then accept resumes and set up interviews and things on those lines. I can tell you that digital signature one probably meant about $30,000 to a client that, hands down, without it would have never in the world gotten paid, because the company was selling out, doing stuff and all that good stuff. They would have never been paid had our client not had that digital signature. So,
and it's just so easy to do, and it's reasonable. It's $40 a month. Think of how many fees that you're sending out on those contracts at $40 a month. That not only does it make it really easy for them to sign, and you've heard Wilson and I harp about just how much a signed contract means in the collection process, and especially when we have to send it out for forwarding attorneys, but you now have an extra layer of protection where it proves that they're who you were dealing with.
Well, and something that you had pointed out was, I don't have my computer, I don't have whatever, they can sign off on one of these. And as I'm laying that up there, yes, that is a BlackBerry. I am one dedicated dude. But anyway, but you can sign from, it's touchscreen, but you can sign from your phone. You can sign from anything. And
I mean, I've done a lease on one for, personally, DocuSigns I've done a lease. I've done, put an offer in on a house. I mean, there are so many things that have automatically become, that is the standard. You don't see any other option.
And I agree with you. And also they keep storage and keep track of it and all of that good stuff as well.
And you can also make changes. I was at a staffing conference or a recruiting conference the other week, and we were discussing this, and I was giving some of my, best practices, and somebody had their contract in DocuSign pulled up and was able to show everybody how easy it was. And then they could make changes right there. So it becomes just one place, one-stop shop to manage your contracts.
Okay. Well, that is good to know. And that kind of, I can't tell you enough. Getting a signed contract, if you don't have a signed contract, yes, we can run it through collections. Yes, we would probably see money, and we can even sue on it. But I can tell you, on average, if you take all of the ones with signed contracts, all of the ones with signed contracts and without, that signed contract means about 40% more in revenue generation for you, whether we handle it or whether it goes through the legal process. But the one in specifically that our client had a used DocuSign, that one thing meant $30,000 to them. And so that's just one thing I can't stress enough. And if DocuSign makes it easier, and another thing, we use different processes, and if we set up a new client, they start getting automatic updates. They get kind of a confirmation of your emails placed and things along those lines. You can set it up to where when you load in the prospect, it automatically sends out the email with the DocuSign information in it. So it's some things that you can automate if you're utilizing just a boilerplate agreement, to where you don't even have to remember to sign it. Just when you load them up,
and you can set it up to remind you if you haven't gotten it back.
There you go.
Because that's the other thing, is I think clients are signing their next client and then moving on, and there's a delay in remembering, hey, the person I signed and we're recruiting for from Monday, did they ever get that contract back over to me?
Sure. And guys, we practice what we preach, and we do it for a couple of other reasons that are because this world's litigious. But we always have a contract before we work on an account for a client. We have to have the agreement signed. I have done this for almost 30 years. And I'm not concerned about being paid or not paid from our clients, because that just doesn't happen. Clients pay us. I've only had one client not pay us in 30 years. But before we can act as your agent, we legally have to have your permission to engage on that debtor and things along those lines. And so we always have to get an agreement signed. So for recruiters to say, and staffing firms as well, to say, well, you know what, it's just so tough to get agreement signed. No, it's lazy is why you're not getting the agreement signed, and you're training your clients that they don't have to sign it. If you tell them, hey, sign the agreement, get it back to me, we'll start getting you some really neat candidates over there. They'll sign it and send it back every time. If they're not sending it back to you, there's 99% of the time, there's a reason for it.
No.
So Sam, any questions or any comments before we leave?
I think that's it.
Well, I appreciate you shedding the legal insight on that. And if anybody has a backdoor hire or a collection issue, give me a call, 800-452-5287. I'm at extension 6578. Or you can shoot me an email, wilson@aercollections.com. Or if you have a question for Samantha, it's Samantha@aercollections.com. Samantha, I will see you next week, and I appreciate you joining me on Monday morning meeting.
See you then.